Netflix, Amazon, and Hulu, the big three streaming services, are slowly taking over the world of film. With these services making Oscar-worthy content and following the rules so that their films meet the qualifications, they're starting to scare big-name directors like Steven Spielberg. Netflix films such as Mudbound and Icarus and Amazon films such as Manchester by the Sea and The Salesman are just the tip of the iceberg for streaming services as they take over the Oscars. Though these streaming services are playing by the rules, many people are against the streaming services being nominated for Oscars at all and feel that they should only be eligible for Emmy Awards due to the way the content is presented to audiences. So, should the Academy change the rules, or should streaming services settle for Emmys? Amazon was the first of the streaming services to have films exclusive to their service to win Academy Awards, with 7 total nominations for 2 films and 3 wins in all in 2017. Netflix was the second streaming service to have films exclusive to their company to win an Academy Award, with 8 total nominations for 3 films and 1 major win in 2018. Though these aren't all of the awards the services have been nominated for, or even won, streaming services still have to play by the Academy's rules if they want to be considered for an Academy Award. In order to be considered, a film must be feature-length, or at least 40 minutes. It must air in a Los Angeles County theater for at least 1 week between January 1st and December 31st to be considered for the following year. And it must not broadcast in non-theatrical format before being released in LA. However, it can be released in theaters before being released in LA. There are many more rules for a film to be considered, but these are the ones that affect the streaming services the most, especially if a film is accidentally released on a streaming service before its theatrical release in LA. The members of the Academy are almost hell-bent on pushing streaming services to the Emmys and keeping the rules the way they are and to never change them. The ritual of going to a movie theater is one that the Academy is trying to preserve, but with streaming services releasing their films only to meet these requirements, the Academy is wondering if that would be considered cheating or if they should just change the rules. This debate is not about the quality of the content. Streaming services have high-quality shows and films. The debate is rather about the movie-going ritual and the preservation of it. With Netflix films like Icarus winning Best Documentary Feature, it seems as though they are attempting to force the movie-going ritual out of the picture. According to Vulture.com, there is a new rule under consideration at the highest echelons of the Academy that would force awards submitters to pick their pathway between the Emmys and the Oscars. A nomination for one award would effectively disqualify filmmakers and producers from submitting entries for the other. Since the streaming services have feature-length films being nominated for the Emmy Awards, their films would be completely ineligible for the Oscars. This rule, if it becomes a reality, is one that many Academy members would be satisfied to have, but many are voting the question, what constitutes as television or a TV movie, and what constitutes as a feature-length film anymore? Steven Spielberg, one of the widest-known directors in the United States, believes that Netflix and other streaming services should only be nominated for Emmy Awards altogether. In an interview with ITV News, Spielberg was asked if the Netflix films and films from other streaming services are a challenge to cinema as we know it today. His response?
It is a challenge to cinema, the same way television in the early 1950s pulled people away from movie theaters and everybody stayed home because it was more fun to stay home and watch a comedy on television in the 1950s than it was to go out to see a movie. So Hollywood's used to that. We are accustomed to being highly competitive with television. The difference today is that a lot of studios would rather just make branded, tentpole, guaranteed box office hits from their inventory of branded, successful movies than take chances on smaller films. And those smaller films the studios used to make routinely are now going to Amazon, Hulu, and Netflix.
Though the smaller films are going to the streaming services, it is still a challenge for directors like Spielberg to take chances on smaller films, since they won't be guaranteed box office hits. Spielberg even credits television as being the best it has ever been, with better writing, directing, and performances, saying that it is thriving with quality and art, but it is still posing a clear and present danger to filmgoers. With Netflix, Amazon, and Hulu presenting these dangers to the film society, the main question is whether or not to allow streaming services to be eligible for Academy Awards. In my personal opinion, the rules should be changed since streaming services have been a part of our society for almost a decade. The length of a feature film should be expanded to at least 1 hour or 60 minutes, and a feature film should be considered for an Oscar but not for an Emmy, and only television shows should be considered for Emmys. And the 1-week rule should be adjusted to accommodate streaming services so that the streaming services will continue to produce Oscar-worthy content. It would be hard to say that streaming services were going to stick around, but they have stuck since 2010. These streaming services are a new way for ordinary people like us to view extraordinary work.